What if I told you that your financial reality isn't being controlled by how hard you work, but by two simple words you repeat every single day without even noticing? Asterisk, not your job, not your bank account, not luck. Your words. Asterisk, because right now, whether you realize it or not, you are constantly speaking to money. Every thought, every reaction, every quiet sentence in your mind is sending a signal. And the truth is, money is always listening. The problem: most people are speaking the wrong language. Asterisk, you might be doing everything right, watching manifestation videos, trying the law of attraction, visualizing wealth, repeating affirmations like I want money or I need financial freedom, but nothing really changes. Or if it does, it's slow, inconsistent, frustrating. And deep down, there's this question you don't say out loud: why isn't this working for me? Asterisk, I've been there, checking my bank account more times than I want to admit, feeling that tight pressure in my chest when the numbers don't match the life I know I'm capable of, trying to stay positive, trying to believe, but still feeling like money is always just out of reach. Asterisk, and that's where everything shifts. Asterisk, because what if the issue isn't that money isn't coming to you, but that you're unconsciously pushing it away? What if the law of attraction is working perfectly, but it's responding to something deeper than your intentions? Asterisk, here's something most people never realize: the universe doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you declare. It doesn't react to hope. It reacts to certainty. And most people, without realizing it, are stuck in a loop of lack, saying things like I want, I need, I hope, and broadcasting a frequency of not having. Asterisk, so even when you're trying to manifest money, you're actually reinforcing the absence of it. Asterisk, that's why nothing changes. Asterisk, but there's a shift, a small one, that changes everything. A shift in language so simple that most people overlook it. To words. That's it. To words that flip your entire financial frequency from chasing money to having money respond to you. Asterisk, and once you understand this, you can't unsee it. You'll start noticing how often people sabotage their own manifestation without realizing it. You'll catch your own patterns. And more importantly, you'll know exactly how to change them. Asterisk, because these two words aren't just words. They are a command, a signal, a different way of speaking to the universe and to yourself. Asterisk, and in the next part, I'm going to show you something most people never question, but it's the exact reason why their financial flow never really changes. Asterisk, and before we go deeper into this, I want you to pause for a second and be honest with yourself. How many times have you felt like you were doing everything right, but money still wasn't flowing the way it should? That quiet frustration, that feeling of something is off, but I don't know what. If you've ever experienced that, you're not alone. And more importantly, it means this message is for you. Asterisk, so if any part of this is already resonating with you, take a moment and support this video with a like. Not just to help the channel, but as a signal, a small but powerful action that tells your mind, I'm ready to see things differently. It may seem simple, but these small decisions create momentum. Asterisk, and I'd really like to hear from you. Comment below. I've felt this before. If you've ever felt stuck, like money just wasn't responding no matter what you tried. When you put that into words, you're not just engaging, you're acknowledging a pattern. And that's the first step to breaking it. Asterisk, also, if you're starting to realize that there's a deeper layer to manifestation, something most people never talk about, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because what we're doing here isn't surface level motivation. This is about understanding how your thoughts, your words, and your energy actually shape your financial reality in a real, practical way. Asterisk, and in the next part, I'm going to show you the hidden pattern behind the words you use every day, the one that quietly keeps your financial flow stuck exactly where it is. Asterisk, let me show you something that might completely change the way you see your financial reality. Because the problem has never been that money isn't available to you. The problem is the invisible pattern you've been repeating every single day without even noticing. And once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it anymore. Asterisk, think about the last time you thought about money. Not what you wanted, but what you actually said in your mind. Maybe it sounded like, I need money, or I wish things were easier, or even I hope something changes soon. It feels harmless, right? It even feels positive sometimes. But here's where the shift begins. Those exact words are shaping your financial frequency in a way that keeps you stuck. Asterisk, because when you say I need money, What you're really reinforcing is the feeling of not having it. When you say I want more, you're unconsciously confirming that it's not here yet. And the law of attraction doesn't filter your intentions the way you think it does. It doesn't say, oh, they want money, let me send it. It simply reflects the dominant signal you're broadcasting. Asterisk, and that signal is lack. Asterisk. This is where most manifestation advice goes wrong. It teaches you to repeat affirmations, to visualize, to try to feel abundant. But underneath all of that, your default language is still rooted in scarcity. You might spend 5 minutes saying money flows to me, and then spend the rest of your day thinking, why isn't it here yet? And guess which one has more weight? Asterisk, the one you repeat unconsciously. Asterisk, that's the real language of manifestation. Not the words you force yourself to say in front of a mirror, but the ones that slip out when you're stressed, when you're tired, when you're checking your bank account late at night. That's your true frequency. That's what the universe responds to every single time. Asterisk, and this is why it feels like money is always just out of reach. Not because you're doing something wrong intentionally, but because your internal dialogue is quietly contradicting everything you're trying to manifest. You're asking for abundance with one voice, and confirming scarcity with another. Asterisk, it's like trying to tune into a specific station, but constantly switching the frequency without realizing it. You can't receive a clear signal that way. And money, in this context, behaves the same way. It doesn't respond to confusion. It responds to consistency. Asterisk, now here's where it gets even deeper. Asterisk, this pattern didn't start today. It's been built over years. From things you heard growing up, from experiences that shaped how you see money, from moments where you felt there wasn't enough. And over time, those experiences turned into automatic language. Phrases you don't question anymore. Reactions that feel normal, but are actually reinforcing the exact reality you're trying to escape. Asterisk, so when you think you're trying to manifest wealth, what you're really doing is fighting against a deeply ingrained pattern of scarcity language. And effort alone can't override that. Repetition alone can't fix that. Because the issue isn't just what you say, it's what you believe when you're not trying. Asterisk, and that's why most people stay stuck. Not because they lack discipline, not because they're not working hard enough, but because they're unknowingly speaking in a way that keeps their financial flow exactly where it is. Asterisk, but here's the part most people never stop to question. Asterisk, what if the solution isn't about saying more, but about saying something different? Something so simple that it bypasses all that resistance. Something that doesn't come from lack, but from authority. Something that doesn't ask, but declares. And if you're starting to see yourself in this, if you're realizing how often you've been speaking from a place of not having, then I want you to anchor this awareness, not as a judgment, but as a shift. You can even comment something simple like, I see the pattern, not for me, not for the algorithm, but for you. Because the moment you recognize the pattern, you're no longer unconsciously controlled by it. And in the next part, we're going to take this even further. Because now that you've seen the pattern, the real question becomes, what replaces it? What are the exact words that shift your financial frequency instantly? Now that you've seen the pattern, I want you to go a little deeper with me. Because this isn't just about the words you say consciously. It's about the emotional loop those words create inside you, and how that loop silently controls your financial flow every single day. Think about how it feels when you check your bank account and it's not where you want it to be. There's a microsecond reaction that happens before you even think. A tightness in your chest, a slight drop in your stomach, maybe a quiet sigh. And then, almost automatically, a sentence forms in your mind. Something like, I need more, or this isn't enough, or why is it always like this? That moment right there, that's the real programming. Because manifestation isn't just about repeating affirmations when you're command focused. It's about what happens in those unguarded moments, when you're not trying to manifest, when you're just reacting. That's where your true financial frequency lives. And here's the part most people miss. It's not just the thought itself, it's the emotion attached to it. The law of attraction responds to the combination of both. So when you think I need money while feeling stress, pressure, or even desperation, you're not just thinking a sentence. You're broadcasting a powerful signal of lack. And that signal becomes consistent, day after day. Without realizing it, you reinforce the same emotional state. You wake up You think about money, you feel a certain way, you repeat the same internal language, and the cycle continues. It becomes so normal that you don't even question it anymore. It just feels like reality. But it's not reality, it's repetition, and repetition creates identity. At some point, without noticing, you stop being someone who is temporarily experiencing financial struggle, and you start identifying as someone who is always trying to get more, always figuring things out, always one step behind. And once that identity locks in, your actions, your thoughts, your expectations, everything begins to align with it. That's why even when money does come in, it doesn't stay. Or it comes in small amounts, inconsistent, unpredictable. Because your internal system isn't calibrated for stability. It's calibrated for chasing. And chasing energy is the opposite of receiving. Let me make this even clearer for you. Imagine two different people. One wakes up and thinks, I need money. I hope something works today. The other wakes up and, without stress, without urgency, holds a completely different internal state. No pressure, no sense of lack, just a quiet certainty that things are already aligning. Same world, same opportunities, completely different frequency, and the difference doesn't start with action. It starts with language, internal language, the kind that shapes how you feel before anything even happens externally. This is why so many people feel exhausted with manifestation. They try techniques, they try to stay positive, they try to force belief, but underneath it all, their emotional baseline never changes. The moment something triggers them, they snap back into the same loop, lack, worrying, waiting, and the universe doesn't respond to your effort to feel good. It responds to what you consistently are. So if your default state is not enough, not yet, almost there, then that's exactly what gets mirrored back into your financial reality. Not as punishment, but as alignment. Now here's where things start to shift in a real, practical way. Because once you understand that your financial flow is directly connected to this internal loop, you stop trying to fix everything externally. You stop chasing more strategies, more hacks, more effort, and you start looking at the root, the language and emotion you repeat every day. And this is where most people expect something complicated. A long process, a difficult method, something that takes weeks to understand. But what if it doesn't? What if the shift comes from something incredibly simple, something that interrupts that entire loop instantly? Not by fighting your thoughts, not by suppressing your emotions, but by replacing the core trigger that creates them in the first place. Because if a few unconscious words can keep you stuck, then the right words, used the right way, can break that pattern completely. And if you're starting to feel that realization that maybe the problem was never outside of you, but in the way you've been speaking and feeling without noticing, then anchor that awareness. You can even comment something like, I break the pattern, not as a hope, but as a decision, because in the next part, I'm going to show you exactly what replaces that old language. The two words that shift your frequency from chasing money to having money respond to you. So now we get to the point where everything starts to shift. Not slowly, not over months, but instantly, the moment you understand what I'm about to show you. Because up until now, you've been speaking from a place of wanting, needing, hoping, and that has been shaping your financial reality without you even realizing it. But what if you could replace all of that with something that carries a completely different frequency? Two words, that's all it takes to interrupt the entire pattern you've been living in. But before I tell you what they are, I want you to feel the difference first. Because this is not about memorizing words. It's about recognizing a shift in energy, in identity, in authority. Think about the difference between saying, I want money, and saying something with absolute certainty. No doubt, no hesitation, no emotional attachment to the outcome. Just a statement that feels final. That's the frequency you've been missing. Because the law of attraction doesn't respond to effort. It responds to certainty. And certainty isn't loud, it isn't desperate, it doesn't chase. It simply is. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait for validation. It doesn't look around to see if it's working. It declares. And then reality aligns. Now here's where it becomes real. The two words that shift your entire financial flow are, I decide. Simple. Almost too simple. And that's exactly why most people overlook it. But when you truly understand what those words represent, everything changes. Because I decide is not a request. It's not a hope. It's not a wish. It's authority. When you say I decide money flows to me, you are no longer placing money outside of you. You are not waiting for the universe to choose you. You are choosing the outcome. And that subtle shift, from waiting to deciding, is what changes your financial frequency instantly. Feel the difference. I want money feels distant. I need money feels urgent and heavy. I hope money comes feels uncertain, but I decide money flows to me feels final. It feels done. And the reason this works on such a deep level is because it bypasses the emotional loop we talked about earlier. It doesn't give space for doubt to grow. It doesn't allow your mind to negotiate or question. It cuts through the noise and places you in a position of control. Not control over the how, but control over the state you operate from, because manifestation was never about controlling outcomes. It was about controlling your internal authority. And most people never step into that. They stay in a passive relationship with money, hoping it arrives, wondering when it will show up, constantly checking for signs. But when you shift into I decide, something changes internally. You stop looking for proof. You stop reacting to the current situation. You stop asking when and how, and instead, you start moving through your day with a completely different baseline, calm, certain, unmoved. And that's when your financial reality starts to reorganize, not because you forced it, but because you finally aligned your language with a frequency that doesn't contradict itself. You're no longer sending mixed signals. You're no longer saying one thing and feeling another. You're embodying a single, clear instruction. And here's something even more powerful. I decide is not just about money. It's about identity. Because the moment you start using it consistently, you stop seeing yourself as someone trying to manifest wealth, and you start becoming someone who directs their reality. And that shift affects everything. The way you think, the way you speak, the way you react, even the opportunities you notice and the ones that seem to randomly appear in your life. But this is where most people make a mistake. They hear something like this, they feel the shift for a moment, and then they go back to their old patterns. They say I decide once or twice, and then immediately start questioning if it's working. And the moment doubt comes back in, the old frequency takes over again. So it's not just about saying the words. It's about how you hold them. It's about saying I decide and not taking it back 5 minutes later with a thought like, but what if nothing happens? Because that contradiction cancels the signal. This is why consistency matters more than intensity. It's not about saying it perfectly once. It's about maintaining that internal position over time, letting it become your default, not your exception. So as you sit with this, I want you to notice how it feels in your body, not just the words, but the state they create. And if you felt even a small shift, even a moment of clarity or control, you can anchor that by commenting something simple like, I decide now, not as a technique, but as a declaration, because in the next part, I'm going to show you exactly how to use these two words in a way that stabilizes your financial frequency. So you're not just activating the shift for a moment, but actually sustaining it long enough for your reality to respond. There's a moment, a very specific moment, when everything either collapses back into doubt or finally locks into certainty. And most people miss it, not because they're not trying hard enough, but because right at the edge of change, they go back to the old pattern. They go back to checking, to questioning, to silently asking, is this actually working? And that question alone breaks the frequency you've been building. Because here's the truth that almost nobody tells you about manifestation and wealth attraction. It's not what you say once that changes your life. It's what you refuse to question after you say it. Think about it. You've already learned how to shift your language. You've already felt the difference between chasing money and becoming someone money follows. You've already stepped into the identity where your voice carries authority. But now comes the real test. What do you do in the moments when reality hasn't caught up yet? When your bank account still looks the same? When no notification has come in? When nothing external seems to confirm what you've been declaring? This is where almost everyone breaks, because they start looking for evidence instead of becoming the evidence. And the moment you start looking for proof, you unconsciously tell the universe, I'm not fully certain yet. And that small crack, that tiny hesitation, is enough to slow everything down. But the people who actually change their financial reality, the ones who experience fast manifestation, unexpected money, aligned opportunities, they do something different. They hold the frequency even when there's nothing to hold onto externally. They wake up And they don't ask, did it happen yet? They move like it already did. They speak like it's already done. They think like there's nothing left to question, and that's when something powerful happens. The energy stabilizes. The signal becomes clean. There's no contradiction anymore between what you say and what you feel. And when that alignment happens, reality has no choice but to reorganize itself around you, because manifestation isn't about forcing outcomes. It's about removing resistance to what you've already declared. So instead of checking, you reinforce. Instead of doubting, you repeat. Instead of waiting, you embody. And suddenly, things start showing up in ways that don't even make logical sense. A message you weren't expecting. An opportunity that feels perfectly timed. Money coming from places you didn't even consider. Not because you chased it, but because you stopped interrupting the process. And this is where your power actually becomes real. Not when you say the words once, but when you become the person who doesn't need to question them anymore. So right now, I want you to feel this, not just understand it. Feel it. If your word truly is law, why would you check? If money truly follows your voice, why would you chase? If your reality is already shifting, why would you doubt the timing? Just sit with that for a second, because this is the shift that separates people who try manifestation from people who live it. And from this point forward, every time you feel that urge to question, to look for signs, to wonder if it's working, that's your signal, not to stop, but to go deeper, to speak again, to anchor again, to return to certainty. Because the moment you stop interrupting your own frequency, everything begins to move faster. And before you go to the next step, I want you to anchor this into your reality in a simple way. Go to the comments and write a declaration that feels real to you. It can be something like it's already done, or I don't chase, I receive. Choose something that represents certainty, not hope. Write it once and feel what it does inside you, because what comes next builds on this state. And if you stay in this frequency, what you're about to see will make everything connect in a way that changes how you approach manifestation from now on. And if you made it this far, if something inside you shifted while listening to this, then this wasn't just another video for you. This was a turning point. Most people scroll, watch for a few seconds, and leave. But you stayed. You felt it. And that already tells me you're not here by accident. You're here because you're ready to step into a different frequency. A different identity, a different financial reality. So don't break this moment. Right now, anchor it. Go to the comments and type this exact phrase. It's already done, not as hope, not as a wish, but as a declaration. Let that be the moment you stop questioning and start deciding. And if this message resonated with you in any way, take 1 second and hit the like button, not just to support the video, but to reinforce this energy, this intention, this shift you just created. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel right now, especially if you felt something real here, because the next videos are not random. They are designed to build this frequency step by step, so you don't fall back into old patterns. And trust me, the next video is where everything starts to click on a deeper level. It's already on your screen. Go watch it now and keep this momentum going.